Alright, before we begin, I obviously already took them out of the box, so I'm not going to try and kayfabe you into think that I just got this. I got this over the weekend. It is now Monday night. I decided, let's take a look at them. So, this is King Ghidorah, SH MonsterArts from the 2019 Godzilla King of the Monsters movie. Godzilla 2 in Japan, I guess. Box, as you can see, is giant. So giant, in fact, that I've had to like expand my table and get everything off of it to be able to show it here. But got a lot of nice pictures here. King Ghidorah, various poses. I like it. I don't know about that pose. Flight, I can't imagine anything being able to hold this guy up. But, you know, hey, if you want to give it a shot, it's all you. I just want to point out, for size purposes, that this is my WrestleMania Jack-specific steel cage ring that I've been using for all of my JWF animations pretty much ever. And for fun, we're just going to compare the size of these boxes. I got the edges lined up over on that side there, and you can see here that King Ghidorah's box is only about, let's say, 2 inches or so shorter than my Jack's wrestling ring. So if you're a wrestling fan and you have that same ring, that gives you a better idea of just how massive this box is. Can you imagine? One monster is almost the size of an entire wrestling ring and steel cage. All right, let's get the actual figure going here. So this is what you get out of box. You get 2 tails that you attach to the back end of the figure, and they do go into different slots. You can't just like put one into the other slot. It doesn't work that way. You got to put the right tail into the right spot here. But once you do that, you also need to attach the wings, as you'll see here. The wings basically just slide over this peg. Now this peg is on a little ball hinge, so it will give you a little bit of movement once you actually attach the wing, but as you'll see, not really a lot. And we'll get to that in a second. Going over the heads and the necks, you'll see that each neck has like a lot of these little segmented joints there, which allows for a great range of motion. So you'll be able to get King Ghidorah, all 3 of his necks, into a lot of really deep poses, which I do enjoy that a lot. Yeah, you can even arc it even further if you wanted to play with the joints a little bit more. And at the base of the neck, it actually has a pretty good up and down movement as well as a little bit of in and out too, you'll see. So yeah, you can get a lot of pretty deep movement. You can get them like lunging forward pretty far, and I'm just doing the one neck, but you will be able to get that with all 3. Some little details that I noticed are this one here on the, I guess this would be his right side head. He has a little bit of his horn missing up here, which I believe is movie accurate, which that's actually kind of a cool detail. Another thing that I noticed is that going up his back, he has a row of spines on either of his side necks, but he has a double row for the center head, which kind of goes into his back a little bit as well, which I think is really cool. I dig that little detail. I didn't notice that when I was watching the movie, so definitely cool to have that on the figure. I guess that means I don't know if it's actually accurate to the movie or not, but I'm gonna go with probably yes. Same thing with the tails. You'll notice they're both very, very articulated. You'll get a lot of poses out of them, a lot of different joints in there to, well, they do pop apart too, as you'll see. That's the same problem that a lot of the SH MonsterArts figures have. They do just plug right back in there and you're good to go. But yeah, like, I think even the original King Ghidorah had a very similar set of tails like that. So, I dig it. I think it works. One thing I also dig that I wasn't expecting was the leg articulation is actually really pretty decent on this figure. You do get the hip movement up here, a little bit of forward and back, a little side to side, nothing crazy, but it's nice. You do have a knee that joins there, like that. You do have this, whatever you want to call this joint, this back. You know, animals have that. I don't know what to call it. And then right here, the base of the foot, which is nice. And you are going to want this guy's feet planted because we're going to go over the wings next. All right, now before we get to the wings, there's some other things he comes with. He comes with this small little stand with this piece in it. Now this piece is meant to fit in between his legs, kind of leading into his back there. So you basically just sit that there. You put Ghidorah right on top of that, and that's going to stabilize him a little bit, which is nice. Ideally, you would make this as tight fitting as you can to his little crotch piece there, and then yeah, you can see that that's not going to leave him a lot of opportunity to tip over, which with a figure like this, you do not want him tipping over. He also comes with 2 other ones, and it comes with 2 of these shorter stands and 2 of these longer ones, and then 2 of these clips, which will clip into the underside of his wings to be able to support them. I suggest you use these. I was able to balance him with his wings once without any stands, but it's not worth the risk, honestly. Let's check out the wings. So here we go. The elephant in the room. The number one discussion point that I have with this figure. The wings. These are one big solid piece of plastic, and furthermore, it's a kind of a more fragile feeling plastic than perhaps I'm comfortable with. Which, I mean, the major part of the wing, you're probably not going to notice it, but these little tips here, these seem like if the wing fell off, for example, these pieces seem like they'd be really easy to break off. So be very careful with this, is what I recommend to you. Now, I did mention you do have that hole that's going to slide into the peg right there that I showed before. Pretty easy to do. I did notice that on my, I guess this would be his left wing, it doesn't stay on quite as well. I've seen people like wrap a little bit of tape around that peg right there just to try and get it a little bit more secure. I may go ahead and do that at some point, but for now, I'm just going to put him on and I'm going to use the stands that he comes with, and then we can talk about the whole package all at once. And so there you have it. All of his glory, fully assembled, mouths open, ready to blast electricity at the nearest monster. Unfortunately, that's not the case because he doesn't actually come with any electricity effects. Matter of fact, this is all he comes with. You're not going to get anything in the way of accessories with this guy. He's basically just out of the box. You get him and only him and the stands that you need to support him. Would have been nice to get like some electric beam effects because he does use those quite a bit in the King of the Monsters movie. But you do get a lot of nice paint shading here on the wings. Like, I think if you're going to look at any part of the figure and appreciate the paint they did, it's going to definitely be in the wings because, I mean, yeah, granted, they're also the biggest part of the figure, but they're also for sure the most noticeable, so it's nice to be able to appreciate what they've done here. I will say, I'm going to take him off these stand, or at least this stand, just for a second. You don't get a ton of motion with the wing. It looks like you're only going to get a little bit of forward and possibly a little bit of back, although not a ton. A little bit of up and down, so if you want to like have the wings up above, you could do that, and then like stand it underneath here like that, so you can get a different pose there. If you want kind of a more attacking pose, I guess, you can go for that. But otherwise, the wings are not going to give you a whole lot to work with, and that's kind of my biggest gripe with the figure. The original King Ghidorah, he had one-piece kind of solid wings, but they were on hinges, so you could at least fold them all the way back behind his body. Can't do that with this guy, so he's pretty much constantly going to be full-on wings out, ready to go. That said, he does make up for it with the articulation in his tails, his legs, his like all three of his necks, very well articulated. So let's get a look at him compared to some other figures. Do not adjust your set, your eyes do not deceive you. This is King Ghidorah compared with Godzilla and Mothra from the King of the Monsters movie, the same movie. Now these are the NECA versions of the figures. I don't have the SH MonsterArts version of Godzilla, and Mothra is not out yet, and I believe she and Rodan are coming out at the end of the year in a double pack. Don't quote me on that, that's the last thing I think I read. But these are basically meant to be in the same scale, so we're going with this. And you could see Ghidorah just dwarfs both of them. Like, there is, yeah, like, it makes me think that this Ghidorah figure is in fact a little bit too large for like the proper scale from the movie. Ghidorah was definitely significantly larger than either of these two, but I don't recall him being quite this much of a powerhouse. I might be mistaken. I've only seen the movie once. I'm not mad about it. He certainly does look intimidating when compared to the other figures from the movie. Now let's compare him to some stuff that, just I got laying around, I guess. So here, for scale purposes, is Marvel Legends Cyclops. Now he's on your standard 6-inch Bucky cap mold, they call it. It's one of the bodies that Marvel Legends uses all the time. This is Storm Collectibles Zangief, which was one of the biggest figures they've made. Ghidorah easily dwarfs him. This is NECA's Donatello from the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Somebody that I can count on to give Ghidorah a run for his money is Vader. But unfortunately, even he is at a significant size disadvantage to King Ghidorah. So, yeah, if you have any of these figures, or any figures in these lines, you now know just how much bigger this is. And again, that could be a detriment. I open this guy, I put him together, I'm like, well, where am I going to put this thing? Like, I knew I was going to have issues with space, but, I mean, come on, this is a lot to ask. Alright, so we move on to the part where I give you my final thoughts on perhaps Godzilla's #1 nemesis, and certainly somebody who's well within the pop culture lexicon thanks to the new movie. King Ghidorah is a good figure. It's just shy of being great. The wings, I really don't like the design of the wings. I mean, like, not the design of the wings, they look amazing, but just how they engineered the articulation and everything, and how fragile they feel. Not my cup of tea. That, and I wish they'd done a little more with the paint, especially for an SH MonsterArts figure. He is very one-tone, except for like the shading on the wings and a little bit on like the knees and the inside of the body, like I mentioned there. But I don't know. I would have liked to see a little bit more gold brushing or like wash or something. Like if you look at his tails, which are just barely in the screen there, there's really no paint apps to him. It's all just kind of a solid plastic. Now the original Ghidorah had like a nice gold finish on him. This one doesn't have that, and that might be more accurate to the movie, but I don't know, they could have given us a little something. But that said, he does make up for some of his shortcomings with great articulation, as you see here in the necks and in the legs and the tails, as I mentioned before. So honestly, if you're looking for a high-end Ghidorah figure, this is the one to get. And I don't just mean that this is the best one to get, I mean this is literally the only one on the market, because NECA has come out and said they're not making one. And don't get me wrong, NECA has kind of surprised us before with certain things that they've said they weren't going to do, and then next thing you know, they do it. For now, this is the only King Ghidorah on the market, though, if you're looking for a figure in this scale that's going to match with your NECA or SH MonsterArts Godzilla figures. So, he's going to run you about $200 if you get him in the United States, about $10-15 less if you get him imported from Japan, although I think most of those sites are sold out now, so Big Bad got him right now. If you're into it, go for it, I say. He probably will be one of those figures that'll get more expensive, so if you miss it, I don't know what to tell you. Of course, now that I just said that, Bandai is going to probably do like a premium colors version that's going to just be better and come with effects and basically fix all the problems that I just listed, so I don't know. Screw me, I guess, right? So one final little size comparison here. Here he is on my shelf. Not too far from him is the original King Ghidorah from SH MonsterArts. You can see what I'm talking about with the colors and the, you know, just the different paint that they went with. Much nicer looking figure, I think, in terms of paint, but obviously the much bigger figure here. And just for a sense of real scale, look at, just drink it in, man. You got Mothra and Rodan up there. Down there I've got the Mecha Ghidorah. So he's basically a largely repurposed version of this first one, which means he's also going to like be completely engulfed size-wise by this guy. So yeah, just be sure that if you get this figure, you got a place to put him. I will say what's cool about putting him in a display like this is you can kind of put the stands behind things like buildings or rubble or debris or whatever. So I don't know, just something that's kind of cool to be able to use to your advantage when you're displaying your figure on a shelf. You'll be able to come up with a lot more options, and the stands won't be quite as big a deal because you won't necessarily notice them as much. Alright, my name is Captain McKay. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know if you think you're going to buy the figure or pass on it. Hopefully my video has been able to, I don't know, kind of give you all the information you need to figure out if you want to buy this figure or not. Alright, we'll catch you in the next one. Later on.
That's crispy.